Marc Despain has been shot dead. And his widow, Michelle, who found him lying in a pool of blood in the kitchen of their Arkansas home, has just shocked detectives by pointing the finger at Marc's own father, Jack.
Well, I mean, I hate to think that his dad would do anything like that because it is his son, but he's just very, very cold-hearted.
Michelle would not be the only one to suspect Jack. Her father, Carl Kelly, telling detectives he too thinks Jack killed his son.
If I was going to point a finger at anybody, if that's what you're asking, I'd point at Jackie's finger.
Detectives learned that the father and son had been locked in a bitter family feud that began several years earlier when Marc was still working for his parents' real estate company.
We had a fight one night over money.
Marc's mother, Tana, blames the fight on Michelle.
The fight really began between Michelle and Jack, not Marc and Jack, but Marc stood up for his wife, and that put pressure between him and his dad.
That's when Marc would leave his parents' company to start his own real estate appraisal and investment business with his wife, Michelle. And Dad Jack tells detectives that was fine with him.
My wife and I both wanted to be separated from Marc and Michelle as far as the business was concerned.
But the conflict between father and son would hit a point of no return. Marc and Michelle allegedly found topless photos of their teenage daughter, Brooke, on Grandpa Jack's cell phone.
How old was she at that time? She was 12 or 13.
Michelle says Marc wanted nothing more to do with his father.
He just immediately stood up for Brooke and stood up for me.
And Marc's mom, Tana, would leave Jack because of the scandal, only to return to him when it was learned Brooke had borrowed Jack's phone and that the pictures were selfies.
She had taken photographs of herself and was sending them to another boy.
There were never any charges filed in that particular case.
And Tana claims it turned out to be a cruel plan cooked up by Michelle to smear Jack.
We found out later that Michelle had just decided to put Brooke up to doing that so that it would draw a wedge between us and the family.
Despite Jack being exonerated, the plan apparently still worked to some degree, with father and son never speaking to each other again. The feud even following Marc to his grave.
He was hard-nosed, my son. He was not a very good people person. As long as he could get that dollar out of you, he'd turn around, crap on you, and walk away, you know, and that's the way he was.
Detectives are stunned that a father could talk about his just murdered son like that. Unless, of course, Michelle and her father Carl were right, and Jack did kill Marc.
He just told Marc he's the devil, you know, himself. He's the devil's advocate. Told him that more than once. And he believes it.
Carl, who worked for Marc and Michelle's real estate company, claims Jack had made serious threats against his son.
Jack Despain told Marc, he said, "I will ruin you and your family." I've heard him say that.
Investigators are now highly suspicious of Jack, who's speaking ill of his murdered son one moment and uncontrollably sobbing over his death the next.
You just take all the time you need.
It's just hard to believe.
Detectives suspect he's faking his grief.
I mean, you see it on TV and you read about it, and you never think about being in your family.
Then Jack tries to deflect the blame on Carl, who he says hated Marc.
My suspicion is that, you know, did he finally fall off enough that he actually done something like that? That's, once again, I'm not trying to point my finger.
Yes, sir, I understand.
That's just a concern.
Right.
Jack tells detectives Marc was constantly rude to Carl.
I haven't seen him personally. How he did just treat him like a dog.
Carl denies that.
Y'all got along well, he treats you fair. Yeah. You know, I went deer hunting with him and everything else.
And Carl's daughter Michelle backs him up.
He has a really good relationship with both of them.
Jack says they're lying to help hide his guilt, alleging Carl had made death threats against both him and Marc.
Carl has told me that he was going to kill me personally,
Yes, sir.
but he has also told my son that, you know.
Jack claims an angry Carl even waved a gun around on one occasion.
He said, "I'll just kill you." right now. And had a gun pointed right at me.
Jack also tells detectives he suspects Carl's daughter and Mark's wife, Michelle, may have been involved in his son's murder.
I know he treated her like, pretty much like he treated his father-in-law. Does she have anything to do with it? That's another slight suspicion, man.
Michelle denies the allegation.
He's good to me.
But investigators would learn that Michelle was not so good to Mark.
You already have an intimate relationship with this other man.
Was.
Next, detectives take a closer look at Michelle and her marriage to Mark after discovering she was having a secret affair with a kept boy toy.
She was paying his rent. She paid for him to move, bought him groceries.
I haven't seen it personally, how he did just treat him like a dog.
Carl denies that.
Y'all got along well, he treats you fair? Yeah. You know, I went deer hunting with him and everything else.